coconut oatmeal chocolate chip squares. So we start with a full package, 3 cups of unsweetened coconut flakes. And we add that to our bowl. We're now adding 1 cup of rolled oats and half a cup of oat bran. Now this recipe is gluten-free. If your oats and oat bran are not gluten-free, that's fine, but this recipe is gluten-free and vegan. Here we have 1 package, 255 grams of dark chocolate chips. And we're adding the whole package. So now we're going to mix everything together before we add in our liquid. This is a very simple recipe. Not many ingredients, but these squares are delicious. And they are vegan and gluten-free. So anyone with allergies, any major allergies, you don't have to worry because these bars are vegan and gluten-free, dairy-free, egg-free, soy-free. So we're mixing everything together. And now we're setting aside, we're going to measure and set aside 1 full cup of maple syrup. We're adding that in last. And 1/3 of a cup of melted coconut oil. So I would use really good quality coconut oil with no other added ingredients, just coconut oil, raw coconut oil. And I melted this in the oven, or you can use your microwave. And we add that into our bowl. And finally, we add our 1 cup of maple syrup. Now here we have to mix everything quickly because the syrup is sticky and we want to make sure everything is incorporated and everything has been moistened with the maple syrup and the coconut oil. The maple syrup really and the coconut oil are the only 2 ingredients that are making everything stick together. There are no eggs, there's no gluten here, so we really want to keep it from falling apart as best we can. So we have to ensure it's all coated as much as possible before we transfer it to our baking dish. So we just mix and mix and mix until it all looks moistened as much as we can. And everything is incorporated nicely. So now we get our parchment lined baking dish all ready. And here I'm using 2 sheets of parchment paper because I am going to lift it out of the pan with the parchment paper in one piece, and then I'm going to slice the bars right on the parchment paper after it has finished baking and cooled. So we transfer it to our baking dish and pack it down as best we can. Pack it right down as evenly as possible. And we want to ensure it's really packed in so it doesn't break apart when we take it out of the pan after it has finished baking. So we use our rubber spatula to flatten it down and to pack it down. You can use the bottom of a glass as well, but I find that the spatula works the best. So once we're finished packing it down as best we can and making sure that it's as even as possible, and we fill in all the corners, we're going to bake this at 375 degrees for 30 minutes. And we're going to turn it halfway through to ensure that it cooks evenly. So now it's important to let it cool for 2 hours after it's finished baking. And let it cool. You can let it cool right in the pan. And I'm using the parchment paper to lift it out so I don't break it. And it's just the easiest method. And with a very sharp knife, now I'm going to slice it into long bars and then into squares. And you'll notice that it's crispy on the outside. I like these bars crispy, and it also helps them not to fall apart when they're crispy. I also store these in the freezer because I like them cold. You can store them at room temperature or in the refrigerator or in the freezer. I really like them in the freezer because they're very, very good when they're frozen and you take them right out of the freezer. You can eat them right out of the freezer or wait a few minutes, let them soften. So I'm getting 8 bars here, and then each bar I will get 4 squares. So you're getting about 32 of these squares. And even though they're small, they're actually quite rich. So it makes for a nice little snack or dessert, whatever it is that you want to do with them. And if you notice here on the inside, they're chewy and they're crispy on the outside. Golden and crispy on the outside. They haven't broken apart, and that is because they have cooled for 2 hours. And there they are. So I hope you try this recipe and I hope you enjoy them, and leave me a comment and let me know how it goes. Delicious. Enjoy.